All right, folks, let's jump straight into what's happening in the United States, because there's a lot unfolding right now. U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth stood before hundreds of generals and admirals in a meeting that, frankly, sent shockwaves through the military establishment. Hegseth didn't mince words. He declared that the U.S. Army has lost its way, strayed from its core mission, and it's time to get back to basics. All those agendas pushed and promoted under the Biden administration, they're done, finished, over. From this moment forward, Hegseth made it clear soldiers need to meet height and weight standards. They need to pass physical fitness tests. No more beards, no more long hair. If you want a beard, join Special Forces. If not, shave it off. That was the message, plain and simple. No wiggle room, no exceptions. Hegseth emphasized, "We don't have an army full of Norse pagans," making it abundantly clear what kind of military culture he expects moving forward. And then President Donald Trump himself took the stage, and he didn't hold back either. Trump declared, "We won World War I. We won World War II. We won everything in between and everything before that, and then we started dealing with other issues." But now, he announced, the U.S. military will receive over $1 trillion in funding for 2026. $1 trillion, let that sink in. Trump also took aim at what he called the horrific show in Afghanistan, the chaotic withdrawal orchestrated by Biden and his team, a group Trump described as utterly incompetent. He called it the most shameful day in American history, and he said it publicly, for the entire world to hear. Trump didn't stop there. He threatened to fire U.S. military commanders on the spot if they don't meet his expectations. If you're not aligned with his vision, you're out, plain and simple. Trump's speech was filled with dramatic flair and repetitive motivation. He told the assembled leaders, "With leaders like those gathered in this beautiful hall today, we will defeat any danger and crush any threat to our freedom for all future generations, because we will fight, 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 and we will win, win, win." The word fight and win echoed over and over. It was a serious, intense speech designed to rally the military and set a new tone. Now, before we go any further, let me tell you something about myself. I used to be on the inside of a major, well-known media outlet. I saw firsthand how narratives were bent and twisted to fit agendas. I couldn't stomach it anymore, so I left. Now I'm independent, I answer to no one, and I tell you what actually matters, not what someone wants you to hear. If you appreciate that kind of honesty, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you really want to support this work, consider becoming a channel sponsor. It means the world to me, and it keeps this operation running without compromises. But let's pivot now to Europe, because there's plenty happening across the Atlantic as well. Ursula von der Leyen, head of the European Commission, just unveiled yet another sanctions package targeting Russia. This one's serious, folks. It includes strict restrictions on energy, finance, and trade. One of the central measures is a complete ban on importing Russian liquefied natural gas. This is being framed as a key element of the new plan, one that will supposedly ramp up the pressure even more. Whether it actually works or just causes more economic pain for Europe itself, well, that remains to be seen. And speaking of economic pain, former NATO Secretary General and current Finance Minister of Norway, Jens Stoltenberg, delivered a message that's both brutally honest and deeply troubling. Stoltenberg told European citizens to prepare themselves. Europe must finance Ukraine's defense, even if it means sacrificing its own education and healthcare systems. He said, and I quote, "Every billion spent on defense is a billion taken away from healthcare, education, and infrastructure." Let that sink in. He openly admitted where these billions will be coming from, but according to Stoltenberg, the greatest loss would be allowing the adversary to win, so everyone must take responsibility and pay for peace. Those were his exact words. It's a stark admission, and it raises serious questions about priorities and the long-term consequences of these decisions. Meanwhile, in Germany, Chancellor Friedrich Merz welcomed a plan announced by President Trump to end hostilities in Gaza. Merz emphasized that Germany is ready to help implement the peace plan and assist in rebuilding Gaza if a peace agreement is reached. Berlin, he made clear, will not stand on the sidelines. It's an interesting move, positioning Germany as a potential mediator and rebuilder in a conflict that has dragged on with devastating consequences. But Germany is also dealing with some local drama. The mayor of Munich, Dieter Reiter issued a public apology 3 days after the temporary closure of the overcrowded Oktoberfest. People were panicked, especially those with children, and they felt genuinely unsafe. Attendees were suddenly ordered to evacuate the festival without any explanation, and understandably, that caused fear and confusion. The mayor apologized to those who felt uncomfortable or frightened, but the incident raises questions about security and communication during large public events. And if you think that's chaotic, wait until you hear what's happening with Germany's largest airline, Lufthansa. Pilots have voted for a new strike. According to the union, 90% of pilots participated in the vote, and the overwhelming majority supported the strike. The dispute is over pension payments, and they're currently determining the dates. This is significant, folks, because Germany hasn't seen strikes like this from Lufthansa in quite some time. Once the dates are announced, I'll share them with you. It might be useful information for anyone planning to travel. And speaking of travel disruptions, Brussels Airport has already warned that due to a planned strike on October 14th, no passenger flights will depart from the airport that day. Airport staff and security personnel at Brussels Airport will participate in a general strike in October. People are taking to the streets again, hoping their voices will be heard and their demands met. Let's hope someone actually listens. October will also see strikes in France, as you probably already know. Now, switching to a very strange and tragic incident in Paris. The South African ambassador was found after apparently throwing himself out of a hotel window. The 58-year-old diplomat reportedly jumped from the 22nd floor of a 4-star hotel. A serious investigation has been launched, handled by the Brigade Fighting Crimes Against Individuals. The circumstances are deeply mysterious, and the intrigue surrounding this case is massive. We're watching closely as more details emerge. Now here's something you need to pay attention to. If you're finding this information valuable, if you want to stay informed about what's really happening in the world without the spin, make sure you like this video and subscribe. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. I read them, and your engagement helps this channel grow. Let's keep this conversation going. Let me take you back to some of the more bizarre stories coming out of Germany, because honestly, you can't make this stuff up. The German Taxpayers Union just released its annual Black Book, a report detailing the most egregious cases of wasteful government spending. And folks, some of these examples are absolutely mind-boggling. At the top of the list is the bankruptcy of Swedish battery manufacturer Northvolt, which received 600 million euros from the German government. The company was supposed to build a battery factory in Germany, but it went bankrupt, and the money just vanished. The project was championed by Robert Habeck, yet somehow he escaped accountability. 600 million euros. Gone. Then there's the bridge in Saxony's Radeberg, a bridge that cost 900,000 euros but was never connected to any road because, apparently, they ran out of money to continue construction. In Hesse, there's a similar story, a new bicycle route that dead-ends into a flower bed with trees because the interchange was designed incorrectly. 7,000 euros wasted for absolutely nothing. And then there's the Hollywood-style swing in Kassel, installed for 16,000 euros, positioned so that it offers a stunning view of a busy highway. Brilliant planning, right? In Lübeck, a hybrid ferry worth 5 million euros has been sitting idle for over a year. Even the digitalization of the police hasn't escaped absurdity. In Bremen, they purchased software and 100 portable printers for 200,000 euros to print receipts for inspections. In 4 years, they were used only 32 times. 32 times. This is taxpayer money, folks, and it's being thrown away on projects that are poorly planned, poorly executed, or just plain ridiculous. But beyond wasteful spending, there's actual tension and fear in Germany. In Lower Saxony, there was panic and chaos after pilots of a military transport plane noticed a flash and heard a loud bang during takeoff. There was no actual impact on the aircraft, but the crew reported the incident to air traffic controllers. The pilots thought they were being shot at. Military patrols and police were dispatched to the scene, and the area around the airbase was thoroughly searched. No suspects were found. Police confirmed an investigation is underway for dangerous interference with air traffic. Media reports suggest it might have been pyrotechnics, but the fact that pilots are on edge like this tells you something about the current atmosphere in Germany. Now let's talk about Poland, because this next story is, well, it's bizarre. A Polish journalist asked President Andrzej Duda what it's like living in the palace in Warsaw, which was once the residence of Józef Piłsudski, the first Marshal of Poland. The journalist, probably joking, asked if Duda had ever encountered the ghost of Poland's first head of state, but Duda's response was unexpectedly serious. He said, "We talk to each other almost every day." He claimed they've discussed the Polish-Soviet War of 1920 and the current international situation following the start of the war in Ukraine. They've also talked about Parliament. Almost every day, Duda says, he communicates with Piłsudski's ghost. Now, whether this was some kind of elaborate joke or metaphor, or whether Duda genuinely believes he's having these conversations, that's anyone's guess. It's strange, it's unsettling, and it definitely raises eyebrows. So those are the key developments today, folks. Let me quickly recap what we've covered. In the United States, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and President Trump made it clear they're taking the military back to basics. No more woke agendas, strict standards, and a massive $1 trillion budget for 2026. Trump also condemned the Afghanistan withdrawal as the most shameful day in US history and threatened to fire commanders who don't meet his expectations. Over in Europe, Ursula von der Leyen announced new sanctions on Russia, including a ban on Russian liquefied natural gas, while Jens Stoltenberg openly admitted Europe will have to sacrifice healthcare and education to fund Ukraine's defense. Germany's dealing with strikes from Lufthansa pilots. Brussels airport is shutting down on October 14th due to strikes, and there was a tragic and mysterious incident involving the South African ambassador in Paris. Germany's also wasting taxpayer money on absurd projects, and pilots there are on edge after a scare at an airbase. And finally, Poland's president claims he talks to a ghost almost every day. It's a strange, tense, and unpredictable world right now. If this kind of unfiltered, straight-talking analysis resonates with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and consider becoming a sponsor. Your support allows me to keep doing this work independently without bending to anyone's narrative. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think about everything that's happening. The world's shifting fast and we need to stay informed, stay skeptical, and stay engaged. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.